Hello, good evening, and TGIF. That's right, it's Friday night, it's in the know, and it's brought to you by the Racing Post and Corals. We gear up for another big Saturday of National Hunt racing. There's also a cracking card at Lingfield, but I'll just look at that on the train at home. We won't be previewing that tonight, that's for sure, because it's a big day at Kempton tomorrow. Coral have splashed the cash. We've got 3 Grade 2s and 150 grand handicap. And a few more interesting races to go through as well. We've got the greatest show on turf in a few weeks. We've got the longest show on turf as well over at Newcastle. The Eider, almost 4 miles and 2 furlongs, and a big field lined up, and possibly a red-hot favourite lined up for that race as well, in the shape of Christian Williams' Kitty's Light. The Yard did the double with the big race at Kempton and that Newcastle handicap last season, and they might well do it again. They've got both those favourites. We'll be seeing if it is a good evening for Christian Williams, whether lightning can strike twice, but I'm sure our pundits have got a few bigger priced runners up their sleeve. As of you, I'm sure it is live and interactive. Get on that YouTube chat and tell us what you fancy. Don't tell us how much you hate everyone else on the chat, as you were all doing on Monday night. Let's keep it civil. Let's keep it racing themed. Sure, someone might disagree with your opinion, but it doesn't mean they're an idiot. Who knows? Otherwise, we wouldn't have lasted this, however long we'd be doing this show if we thought that, because we would have all fallen out. But luckily, despite the fact that I regularly disagree with Paul Kealy's opinion, I still respect him as a man. Good evening, Keels.
Do you really?
I do. I do. And it's an absolute pleasure to see a freshly trimmed Keels.
I don't know what to say to that. Yeah, it needed to be done, didn't it? When you've got thin hair like mine, it goes all over the place, so get rid.
Yeah. You're looking good?
Back to baldy, yeah. Looking good, feeling good. And 3 expensive losers today, though, so
right.
That's my first venture into punting for the week, so that wasn't great, but I'm looking forward to Kempton. Love this meeting.
Yeah. Your kind of card.
My kind of card. But, to get some decent handicaps, some decent graded races too. Small fields, and I'm one of those people. I actually quite like a little bit of good ground when it comes to jump racing, bit of speed.
Yeah, it tends to personally help me kind of narrow the field a little bit.
Yeah.
I think, okay, you're not going to be able to keep up. You like it really deep, and suddenly it's like heavy ground a lot of the time. But
yeah, exactly.
with heavy
you can
ground,
cast a few out, can't you?
Yeah. Problem with heavy though is that sometimes even horses who do like it make one mistake
exactly,
every second. So
exactly.
Does that mean you've got a few up your sleeve?
I'd like to think so. Yeah, hopefully.
Okay, well, we'll soon find out. Keels is in the studio. Unfortunately, Tom Siegel has got a Friday night off. He's washing his hair, perhaps, or perhaps his jumper, who knows. But Keith Melrose has stepped into the breach, live from deepest, darkest Yorkshire. How are you, Keith? Are you well?
I'm well, Ross, and I'm also washing my jumper, as you might see.
You are, yeah. You've in this day and age, Keith, you've got the heating on. A Scotsman at the borderline of a recession. You're wearing a t-shirt inside.
Yes, I'm in the only room in my house that's properly insulated.
Right. Okay. Yeah. They build them right in Huddersfield, don't they? There you go. Thanks. Lovely. Well, it's been lovely talking to you, Keith. Thanks ever so much. We'll be getting your thoughts on the card as the evening progresses. And Simon Clare has not got the heating on. He's got his jumper zipped up to the bottom of his chin, probably in preparation for an expensive day tomorrow, Simon.
Yeah, listen, I'm a little bit chilly here. Yeah, I'm keeping the heating off, just to keep the old pennies in the pocket. But no, looking really forward to tomorrow. It's a meeting we took over the sponsorship of last year and partnered up actually with the Jock Club to boost the prize money, both the Pendil and most importantly the Coral Trophy, up to 150 grand from 100 grand. And we were rewarded with a really good card and a good race last year. And I think we've got another cracker this year with Frodon, King George winning at the top weight and some really interesting handicaps in the field. So yeah, it's a cracker.
Yeah, it is. Some small fields, but they are competitive ones. So it's not. There's no 1 to 2 shots who have 2-7 in hand to go through. That's for sure. So, what about? You must be a fan of the Kempton card, Simon. I guess contractually you're obliged to be a fan of it. But yeah, we've got some nice horses lining up tomorrow. Any particular favourites of yours, or any Coral associations, or anything going on for you?
Yeah, listen, there's plenty. I mean, I've looked at that. But when you sponsor races like these, particularly ones when you sort of, you've almost treated this as a bit of a project to kind of bring this race and the meeting back to, as close as we can to where it used to be. I mean, this was a race which was won by the likes of Pendil twice in the 70s, Chris Ryman Reason, Rough Quest won it en route to winning the Grand National. Desert Orchid famously won it, under 12 stone 3 in 1990. And even more sort of recently, the Racing Post sponsor, which spanned many, many decades. I mean, Paul must have done many tips through the card to the Racing Post readers at this event over the years. It was a high class, high quality handicap. It's just kind of like when Kempton was put up for sale, I felt a lot of the race in the meeting at Kempton kind of lost their luster a little bit. I just lost their buzz, and so. But it's a track. I know Paul loves this meeting. I love Kempton Park on these big jump days, and I think this is a car which can hopefully, make its way back into sort of up the charts almost as a must-attend meeting with some really good horses. And the Adonis is a cracker. The Coral Trophy is a cracker. The Pendil's a good race. Novice chases tend to be small fields. That's what you get, but it's a nice competitive one. And the handicaps are good as well. And we've actually introduced a parade. I know it doesn't make any difference to the form or the chance of horses unless they boil over. But to actually put a parade back into the conditions of the Coral Trophy, so you'll see the 13 horses parading in front of the stands. To give it that kind of big handicap gravitas, I think is a fun bit of added theatre we've introduced.
Lovely stuff. Well, let's hope we can add a few winners to that. We'll be getting to that in a second. But first, don't forget to sign up to the Racing Post Members Club. There we go, sign up today. Before we get stuck into tomorrow's cards, Simon, very quickly, give us a time-sensitive price boost, sorry.
Gosh, I think it's hand side, isn't it? At 2 to 1, I believe. God, you've actually caught me. This is poor preparation by Simon Clare, but you've got it in front of you, haven't you there, Ross?
I haven't, no. Oh, there we go, it's up on the screen there. Hansard to win the Dovecote hurdle.
Yes.
2 to 1, out from 6 to 4. There you go.
Up until 7 o'clock, £20 max, so get on. Oh, I've been done in by my own lack of preparation there.
Although I'm just hearing that because you referred to yourself in the third person, it's 9 to 4 now. So for an extra bit on top of the price there. Right, let's get stuck into that Kempton card then. But Hansard to win the Dovecote. We'll come to that race very shortly indeed. But first race on the Kempton card is the Adonis, the Juvenile hurdle Grade 2 contest on the way, and a nice little field lining up, headed by a Milton Harris trained favourite. He's certainly done well with his juveniles over the past couple of seasons, and he won this race last year, of course, with Night Salute. Scriptwriter is his runner this year, 15 to 8. Big Irish Challenger is Nusrat at the 100 to 30. Rare Middleton is 4 to 1. Perseus Way 7's Power Bory 10. Sarsen Risk 10. Spartan Army 22s. The Churchill Lad is 40 to 1. Outsider of the bunch, and obviously about a decade ago this used to be a potential springboard to Triumph success, Albertino and Zarkanda, but it's been 12 years now since one won this and went on to win the Triumph. Night Salute did win at Aintree though, and this is probably a bit of a better prep for that, Keels, and Milton Harris just keeps on finding these horses.
Yeah, I mean, it has been won by subsequent Triumph winners in the past, of course. But yeah, I think this course is going to suit Scriptwriter a hell of a lot better than Cheltenham, and I think he just may have got slightly outstayed last time by Comfort Zone, but Comfort Zone's 4th favourite for the Triumph. And it was a good run. Now he's rated 104 on the flat, so he's got easily the best flat form of these. He's only got that one defeat to his name. He has got a penalty. I think he's the right favourite. I think he's very fairly priced at around 15 to 8 as well, to be honest. Where Middleton only 4 to 1. He won pretty well at Taunton last time, but he's got to make a massive jump from that run.
Yeah,
because it wasn't a very good race. I mean, we saw another Nichols horse, Affadil, win twice, once at Taunton, then won another weak race at Musselburgh, and then got rather badly found out at Haydock. I wonder whether that'll happen again here. But I think Scriptwriter is very much the one to beat. Hopefully get punters off to a good start. Okay,
Scriptwriter is a 15 to 8 shot, and he's a decent flat recruit. Obviously, like you said, Rare Middleton also quite a nicely bred former Irish flat horse, Keith. Plenty of other interest though. I mean, if Nusrat goes and wins this though, Keith, I mean, the British trainers are really struggling for the triumph, aren't they? Because he's been absolutely battered by Lossiemouth and Blood Destiny by about 35 lengths combined. If he goes out and beats this lot, then, well, they're going to destroy us, aren't they, at Cheltenham?
Well, I think that's why the Adonis is not the triumph of the triumph that it was, isn't it? Because the lack of winners going on to win at Cheltenham has coincided with the Irish dominance in the triumph. So, yeah, you're right. He has been very much a minor player in Ireland, and if he will maybe give a bit of a measure to how the British horses are in this race, but that'll be about the length of it, really.
Yeah, he's. I mean, to be fair, the better ground will certainly suit him. He was sixth in the Melrose behind Solcombe, which was a good one this year, and it has been pretty bad ground his last couple of starts. What was your idea of the value in the Adonis?
Oh, look, the juvenile races. I mean, I'm not a massive watcher of juvenile hurdles, and it's because when they run against each other, the form tends to be worth a can of beans a lot of the time, these juvenile hurdlers, away from the good races. And that was sort of part of the reason I was willing to just give that bit of slack to Rare Middleton for that run at Taunton, because it was an open age maiden hurdle that he won in that race, and he won it very, very well. He was 2-5, and basically Harry Cobden was doing the minimum he could to get him to win that race. He's not got a penalty. Script rate gives him £5. He was an extremely expensive purchase after just 2 runs on the flat in Ireland. Just has the sort of makeup of a horse that is expected to go on and leave that form well behind, although he has to. So I'll be looking for him to potentially step up here, because Nusret we've talked about, and scriptwriter form, I don't think it's far from insurmountable, and he's sort of priced up a little bit based on the record Milton Harris has very similar horses. So I would have been inclined to take that bit of a chance on Ray Middleton, but you don't normally want to listen to me too much in these juvenile hurdlers. Okay,
fair enough. We won't then. The Adonis then. Other interesting runners, Power Paw in particular, who's from the family of Guineas winner Footsteps in the Sand. So some nicely bred horses here, Simon, but scriptwriter has set a solid standard at Nusret, the Irish challenger, and the rest have to improve, but may do so.
Yeah, I mean, I think scriptwriters are, not an unattractive price. It's the same price now, 15-8, as Knight Salute was when he won last year. And as you say, scriptwriter almost has better credentials in some ways than Knight Salute. And it was a similar shape then, where there were some unexposed horses taking on Knight Salute, Impulsive One, Rubo, actually, the Paul Nicholls horse who's now running in the Dovecote later ran here. And I think scriptwriter's really solid. But if it was a different name training by his name, so if it was a Nicholls or Henderson, I feel like it would be shorter. And Nusret's not even entered in the Triumph. He's got a Boodles entry, which sort of says a lot, given his form well behind the sort of Irish principles. Paul Nicholls was saying in his blog that Rare Middleton, depending on how he runs here, will decide whether they go for the Triumph or miss it and go for the entry, obviously. So this is going to give them make that decision for them. But a bit of money for Sarson's Risk, quite a lot of money for Nusret, which is interesting. So that there's money against scriptwriter. It could get bigger. But for me, I just think the favourite's really solid, and our In the Know special is based around him, and he is 4-1 from 130 to win convincingly by over 3.5 lengths. So if you think he's going to win and win well, then he's a 4-1 chance to win by over 3.5 lengths. But for me, I think he is not unattractively priced at 15-8, given the balance of his form and his flat rating.
Okay, there you go. Plenty of love for scriptwriter then, and as you said, Sarson's Risk, the Brookhouse family having a cracking time since Ben took over the training. That's 2 winners from only 6 runners, including this horse. At home, what do we got? Perseus Way for Tom Leach each way. Off-World says can't see Nusret beating a script writer. And that is about it for the opener. So let's move on then from the Adonis Juvenile Hurdle off to the Pendil Novices Chase at Kempton, 2 miles 4.5 furlongs here. And again, another small field, as you tend to get in these kind of races. But even the outsider of the bunch, JJ Riley, comes into this in cracking form and has a few pounds to find. But as an unexposed 7-year-old, that's not entirely out of the question. And what we did like about him last time out was the way he battled back to the scoring handicap company. But Boot Hill seems to race every 2 weeks here, Keith, in these kind of races. He's favourite for Harry Fry again at 13-8. He kind of proved he stayed over hurdles, but he's back up in trip here against a few horses who I would argue are stronger stayers, but he clearly is a classy horse. But apparently they must have mapped out his campaign and thought all these races are generally weak away from Cheltenham over the winter. We'll just try and win as many as we possibly can.
Yeah, that's obviously what they've done, and it's a good thing to do. You know, I remember Frodon basically doing that when he was a novice chaser, and it's something that Paul Nicholls makes a lot of use of too. I absolutely agree with your point there. The fact he's also got to give away a penalty here with the sort of all the attempts he's had to look better than the sort of grade, and he's never taken any of them particularly. No, he's a low 150s horse, and that's grand, but it makes it quite hard to give away a penalty in the Pendil on history, you would say. And to be honest, I just cannot see why he's half the price, of Solo. Yeah. Solo's form is really good in handicaps. You know, he's been beaten quite handsomely by Thunder Rock, but that horse has been grade 1 placed, and he was running off the same mark as him that day at Ascot. And then he was giving £8 to Balco Coastal at Kempton on Boxing Day, which is normally a good race anyway. And Balco Coastal's obviously gone on to finish second in the Scilly Isles. And you know, Solo's coming here. He's coming off a Windop, but you've no concerns about him having done enough work, given that he represents exactly the same connections, owner and trainer, that have won 3 of the last 5 runnings of this race. He's a likeable horse, the sort that loves whizzing round tracks like Kempton, yeah. And I just thought he was an obscenely big price relative to Boot Hill. I don't get why Boot Hill's as short as 13.8, to be honest.
Yeah, he's. I guess if you should go in on ratings, then he is the best horse in the race and all that. They did a similar thing with Bag's Groove in this race a couple of seasons ago, but he was slightly better and the field was slightly worse. Solo's got the tongue tie, the Windop. Of course, he was a former Adonis winner as well, Keels. He's not made that many friends since, though, has he?
No, he hasn't. I mean, it's one of those. He came out and it was his first ever run in Britain, and he absolutely destroyed the field. And it, you know, subsequently turned out it was an awful field.
Yeah.
And you know, and I think people just expected too much of him. But what he has done steadily over time is get better. Yep. And he's a big horse, and there's no reason why he can't still keep going better just because he started early. And you know, like as Keith said, he was given £8 to Balco Coastal last time, and was beaten 9 lengths. Now Balco Coastal's gone up to what, 151. Mm-hmm. So you know. You could argue quite easily that Solo should be a little bit higher than his 141 anyway, and he's getting £5, and he likes this track, and he'll bound off good ground. It was soft when he got beat by Balco Coastal. I think he'll last longer. The Windop is obviously interesting at the same time. And yeah, I'd make him much closer in the betting to Boot Hill. I have slight concerns about That's All Right Gino, who on form has got as every bit as good a chance, I think, as Solo, but he's only gone right-handed once, and he went violently left in the Tolworth last year, early doors, and pulled up. I mean, that was obviously on bottomless ground, and he's a good ground horse. So,
well, behind Constitution Hill, which would have been painful.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but I mean, you know, he didn't really show anything going right-handed that way. That's the only time he's been over obstacles on a right-handed track. So a little bit of a worry about him, but you know, the ground will be better for him, and he's progressive as well. You know, if I was doing a place spot, I'd put those two in and leave Boot Hill out myself.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, That's All Right Gino only has, what, 3/4 of a length to find with Boot Hill as well, and he's improved since, and he's getting weight as well. So, yeah, it is an open little contest. I mean, you know, strictly via weights as well. Tweed Skirt's got a chance. On ours, our tips is at home. That's All Right Gino for Cannes UK 1. As for the rest, Tom Leach Solo wins. Nuff said. And off Worsley's Boot Hill has the class to win this. So plenty of opinions in the Pendil. But yeah, Boot Hill keeps on turning up, Simon. He's no superstar, that's for sure. But certainly everyone on the panel wants to take him on. Do you have anything to add that might talk them out of it?
No, I think you've got to take him on. I mean, he was odds on to beat Tommy's Oscar last time and got beat. So I mean, Paul Nicholls has won this 12 in 17 years, 12 times in 17 years. That's an incredible domination of a Grade 2 novice chase. I know that's not a reason on its own to back Solo, but then you look at Solo's form, as the boys have pointed out, the form with Balco Coastal, Kempton form in the Adonis, third in the Wayward Lad to Everton. He runs Kempton well. He's had this little wind up. Paul Nicholls in his blog, he's very confident of a big run for him. And I think, he just looks good at a good price. I mean, the Dad's All Right Gino's the one being best backed of the 5. He's sort of shortened into 5 to 2. You can understand that to a point. Obviously, that form with Stay Star is quite interesting. I don't know to what extent Paul Nicholls will be able to work out where Solo sits in relation to that. Tweed Skirt, I know on the Monday night show we were talking about Jeremy's Flame as being a value play for the Mayor's Chase. Tweed Skirt finished third to Jeremy's Flame at Huntingdon in the Lady Protector Stake. and that was a decent run, and obviously won the previous 2 starts. So she's, given the weights, has got a chance, and Nikki Henderson seems really reasonably confident that she'll show up well. And JJ Rowley was very tough last time out, but I think he's got quite a bit to fight. But for me, Solo just looks a really solid, obvious selection, and we all seem to be in agreement. Is that a good sign?
Not if the horse is called Solo. No, I don't think so. If everyone agrees, then we've got against it. But no, it probably is a good sign. I mean, like you said, Nichols is he's one this who picked Dory, Frodon, Surname. So yeah, I mean, they were all better horses than Solo is right now. But this is also a weaker renewal, I think. So yeah, I don't have a huge opinion. So I'm just gonna join the group hug and go with Solo. Yeah, 7-2. Happy with that?
Yeah, perfectly happy with that. Yeah.
Okay, there you go. Perfectly happy with that, and we just had an agreement on the chat as well. David Kirk says Solo will give Jerry Colomb a very loose form boost, and Kevin Hasnip also agrees that he will win the Pendil. Next up, it is the Coral Trophy handicap chase over 3 miles, and 13 of them lining up for a potential win of 85 grand. Captain Nord is 5-1 favourite here. St Calvados is 11-2, and Sam 11-2. Our Power 7-1. The aforementioned Frodon 8-1. Clondor Castle is 9-1. Phlegmatic is 10s. Killer Kane 10s. And bigger prices the rest. And Captain Nord, of course, this must have been the plan all along, although admittedly he was very impressive last time at Ascot, but he's still quite well weighted. But he's up against loads of horses who like the track, and he's up against some horses who like the track, like Frodon and even Clondor Castle, who have won this and then gone and run well in Grade 1 company. Frodon, as recently as the back end of last season, placed twice in Grade 1 company. So this looks a warmer race than last year, I thought, Keels.
Yeah, it was funny. It's funny. The more I looked at it, the more open it became, which is good. It should be for the money, really, as well, shouldn't it? Like, so it is. It is 9-2, 5-1 the field or whatever, and I think you can make plausible cases for a lot of the runners. I mean, obviously, you have to give Captain Nord every chance, but he's £3 out of the handicap. Mm-hmm. Now he's come in and booked Kean Quirk from Ireland. It's funny enough, I was looking a little while ago at stats of claimers in big prizes over jumps, and since 2009, there's only 33 winners from 650 something rides with a strike rate of 5%. I thought there's a good reason to take him on. Then I looked again. Of course, Captain Nord won it under a claimer last year. The same day, Win My Wings won the Eider. Win My Wings won the Scottish National under a claimer for Fitching Williams. So he knows exactly what he's doing.
So basically, some trainers are very good at it, and most aren't.
And others aren't. Yeah, but the thing is, he is £8 higher than last year now from out of the handicap, and he's got a new jockey on it. And it is only a week since he ran 3 mile at Ascot, and of course he was in action in a big chase at Doncaster at the end of January as well. So he's keeping a busy schedule. He's got to keep coming out and producing it. So I thought I'd take him on. I didn't like Ansam. I thought he got a race that just fell apart behind him, and he got an easy lead last time. There will be no easy leads here. This is him, Frodon, Bob Open, No Hope, and Black Jerry, is it? At the bottom have all gone forward, so I can see this being a strong pace. I wanted something to come off it, and I came down to Phlegmatic. It was a big price earlier in the week, still a double-figure price, which I think is very, very fair. He's, it's horses for courses, really. He has won both his starts at Kempton when the ground has been faster than soft, and he hacked up in the 2.5 mile chase on this card last year. Now, I'm sure that can't have been lost on Dan Skelton. Just how well went here twice last year when the ground was decent. He was only 10th here over Christmas, but he got badly hampered at the start, and it actually worked his way into 4th place, turning for home. But I don't think he got home because the ground was pretty soft that day, and it was a right test. This will suit him better. If he doesn't blow it at the start, I think he's got a massive, massive chance.
Okay, Phlegmatic then currently a 10-1 shot here.
And hopefully Simon will soon tell us that Mr. Skelton has indeed planned backwards from the last 12 months.
Okay. Why would he tell us? Why?
Because Dan Skelton is one of their ambassadors.
Oh yeah, of course he is. Yeah. Well, is he not strictly?
He's a Labrix. Yeah. Yes, but he's a Labrix ambassador, which is under the same mothership. But and I did check his blog, and he is he is confident of a good show from Phlegmatic today. I think he's very hopeful.
Yeah, he's a 10-1 shot here. 2 questions for you, Keith. A, what do you fancy for this? But B, the key and quirk angle. Obviously, it's a fascinating angle. You want to get £5 off. He's a fantastic claiming jockey, but coming over to ride at the track for the first time, only one ride tomorrow as well. It's a lot of pressure, isn't it? Does that put you off at all?
Not particularly, because as Keels points out, Christian Williams has done this summer before. Jack Tudor was winning races when he was obscenely inexperienced, and Jordan Gainford at a similar stage was given a lot of trust to win in these big handicaps. It's not beyond the wit of man, evidently, to tell who's ready to ride in these big races and who isn't, and Williams has clearly made the judgment call that he thinks Quirk is ready for it. I mean, I don't particularly fancy Captain Orr for the same reasons that Keels gives. Essentially, he's to all intents and purposes £8 higher, or maybe 3 if you count Quirk's £5 is for free. But it's a stronger race. I do think it's a stronger race, and my case was annoyingly similar to Keels. I come down on Phlegmatic too. I think his record at the track and the way he caught your eye at Christmas too just suggested that I think this has been all but a season. I've got it in my notes from a couple of runs back. Is he going for the old RP chase? Obviously, it's a Coral Trophy, but in my notes I can call it what I like. I think he was a really interesting one. I would also put in a word for St. Calvados, whose records here, it says 4.34, but that actually involves 2 in-frame finishes in the King George. He's got a really good record here. He gets Harry Cobden up for the first time this year. And I think Fordon's partly running to make the weights for St. Calvados, isn't he? I think this is a bit of an aim for St. Calvados, and I do give him a right chance that I'll have him on side, but the one is Phlegmatic.
Okay, Phlegmatic 10-1 then. You froze for a second there, Keith, but I don't think it was we missed anything particularly important. One horse we haven't mentioned is Our Power, by the way. I thought had a big chance in this. He was 3rd in this race last year, but that was his first try over 3 miles. He was then 5th in the Ultimate behind Corach Rambler, and then bolted up at Ascot on good ground as well. And for a horse who's really unexposed over this trip, I thought he was the one horse who could have that sort of explosive £7-10
Yeah, he's gone well here over hurdles as well. So he likes the track, he likes decent ground. He was definitely on my list. As was Clondor Castle. I keep worrying whether I've kicked him out of the list too soon, because he's got a cracking record on left-hand and right-handed tracks, and of course he won this 2 years ago.
Well, he's running Grade 1 and Grade 2 companies since then.
And Grade 1 companies, it's his first handicap since, I think, isn't it? So he'd have a shot. Killer Kane won really well here the other day, but I think that was a very soft race, to be honest. Jeremy Pass is normally quite easy to pass. Yeah. And one I want to give a chance of staying is Jackamar, because he travels so well. And he's still well handicapped on old form, even though he's out of handicap.
He boots half the fences, though, doesn't he?
He does, yes, he does. And that's another thing. He might not stay, and if he takes the routes out of a couple of them at the pace they're likely to go, he'll struggle. So I resisted the temptation, and it's all about Phlegmatic.
Okay.
Are we having a little amnesty on horses we don't think will stay, but we're otherwise interested in?
Who's the other one?
Because it was Killer Clown.
Killer Clown. I backed him a million times.
And so have I. And for the longest time, I thought he was a 3-miler in disguise, but I'm not so sure anymore. He might just be a 2.5 mile that hits the line hard, but it's one of those that if he's going to take a chance on a horse getting home over 3 miles anywhere, it's probably this one. I never thought Captain Orr was the strongest stayed at 3 miles until he won this last year. And similarly, Clondor Castle didn't really have any 3-mile form until he won this before. It's all about course form, this race, or Kempton. It can be all about course form, and you can take a bit of a punt on stamina sometimes.
Although, admittedly, I'd say about 90% of the horses here have course form, so that might...
Oh, yeah. So when looking through the race, I was absolutely gobsmacked by how many of them have got really good course form. It's incredible.
Yeah. But, of course, if you've got really good course form, you like good ground, and you're a 3-mile chaser, Simon, and there's a big pot for this race, and you're going to aim at this contest, aren't you? So it's a big race for you tomorrow. So what have you got up your sleeve? You've got to have something to tantalise us, right?
I will. I'll come to that. Just a quick. I will read out, given the enthusiasm for Phlegmatic. This is what Dan said. He said, "I've had the Coral Trophy in mind for him all year. I was underwhelmed in his most recent run, but at a time when a few of ours weren't performing at their best. He won over the card last year over 2.5 miles. I think this is a good race for him. He's no weight. I'd like to think he will run really well. So I think that gives plenty of encouragement to those Phlegmatic fans. Our In the Know special is interesting, just because we got, it is a strong Welsh challenge for this race. Captain Nor won it last year, was really impressive last week. And although he is up in the weights, he's still running off a lower mark than when I think it was 4th or 5th 2 years ago in this race. So he's been an absolute money spinner for Christian Williams, brilliantly campaigned. He's got Kitty's Light, who came second in this last year on in the Eider, and we'll come to that. He's favourite for that. So it could be a big day for him. But Captain Nor and Sam, who bombed in this last year but won well at Kempton last time out, and Our Power, we just talked about him being a very potentially still unexposed horse, even though he was 3rd in this last year. So 3 big runners for Wales, and we're going 7-4, a Welsh trained winner to beat the English. Of course, it just happens this is the same day that Wales and England are playing in the Six Nations against each other. So
I was wondering where you were going with that, Simon, because you brought up the Irish passport and the British passport. I was thinking, are you Welsh now as well?
No, I'm just pointing out a lovely symmetry between the rugby in the afternoon and the big race.
I know nothing. I know nothing about rugby. Can you please tell me that it's in Wales and not at Twickenham?
I think it is in Wales. Yes, no, it is. Don't worry. The trains are not going to be. That would be an absolute nightmare. When you're getting to Sunbury.
Yes.
Anyways, don't worry. It's at Cardiff Arms Park, wherever they play. The Millennium Stadium, it's called now, isn't it? A couple I throw there. Killer Kane, obviously the Joe Tizard team, hopeful of a big run for him. I'd love him to run well. I watched him win last time out, and Brendan Powell, I thought, gave him a brilliant ride because he came off the bridle, turning out on the second circuit, had to be kidded along just to kind of stay interested. And that is not a run style which normally works at Kempton. Once they start to come under pressure at Kempton, it's so hard to stay in the centre field. You need to always be going well and in rhythm. So I don't fancy him, which probably means he will win. A horse I do like, though, is Bob Hope or No Hope, who's still very unexposed and progressive. And although it was only a Ludlow win last time, he's a lovely big, smooth galloping chaser. And I thought he seems to be kept sort of quite under the radar. I thought for a big pot like this, I thought he might go quite well. Just a little piece of trivia. He actually beat Black Jerry in that point-to-point at Dromahan in 2019, where they finished 1st and 2nd. So it's quite funny that their careers should then come to a point where they're running against each other in the Coral Trophy. I'll get my coat.
Beautiful, Simon. It's like Steve Wright's joined the show. There's factoids all over the shop.
But anyway, so I'm just really pleased. I think it's a great field. We got the last 2 winners of the race looking to win it again, and there's only been 3 horses who've ever won the race twice: Nakarat, Pendil, and Docklands Express. So, yeah, so it's not easy to do, but they're joining a pretty decent band of chasers if one of them can do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've mentioned every horse in here apart from Enrillo, who is...
we got.
It's finally priced up at the price he probably should be, and we'll probably go and win now. So
4th last year, wasn't he? 4th last year?
Was it? Yeah, he was 4th last year.
Quite well,
he was 4th.
Yeah. But he's been a constant thorn in my side. Also, as for the people at home, Captain Nord will win, apparently, says Off Worlds. Neil Francis fancies Killer Kane. Tom Leach is with Our Power. Neil Francis says Killer Clown. Started on the wire a tad early. There is 2 horses, Neil. Just, check which one you're backing, by the way, or scribble it badly on the slip and try and claim it if it wins. Don't do that. Bubba says Frodon's got obscenely good Kempton form, and Jamie Kimmy says Ross couldn't tip a waiter. You're absolutely right, Jamie.
He actually doesn't.
That's not true. That is not true. I tip waiters. Even my governor gets annoyed when they don't give us good service, and I still go, we can put in 10% on anyway. So you're right, Jamie. It's the jump season. It's February. No, I couldn't tip a waiter. But that's what I'm here for. Keels, you're the tipster. What's going to win the...
I've been fancying Phlegmatic for a while. Hopefully he'll get the job done.
Okay. Keith?
Yeah, go on then. Phlegmatic too.
Okay, there you go. Simon?
I'm going to go 2 quid each way on Bob Hope or No Hope. And I think Our Power is probably the one for this year.
Okay, lovely stuff, and I'll go for Our Power, Jamie Kimmy, so feel free to lay that one if you like. The next race we're going to have a look at Kempton is the Dovecote. We had a prize piece for that earlier on, as we said, and I hereby bring together the latest meeting of the Chris Gordon fan club, as he's got an excellent record in this. He's got a runner in it, much bigger prize than his winners over the last few years, including Orkin Risk, who took it last season. Cave Legend is that runner, but the favourite is Hansard for the Dovecote at 340, as our producers keep us on Yeah, Tiptoes waiting for those prices. 6-4 Hansard, Rubord is 5-2, You Can Tango 9-2, Imperial Bead is 13-2, Mullenberg 11-1, K for Legend is that Chris Gordon horse at 25s, and Postmark is 33-1, the outsider of the bunch here. Keith, a nice bunch of novice hurdlers as well. Hansard's in winning form, can't stop winning, admittedly, in slightly weaker races than this. Rubord's got course form as well, and I was impressed with Imperial Bead last time out. So it's a good contest, but what was top of your list, Father Dovecote?
It was Rubord, to be honest. I mean, that Boxing Day novice that he was second into Rare Edition, that's generally one of the strongest non-graded novices you get through the British season. And, he ran really well in that race. He just went loopy at Newbury, so I'm not surprised to see him get the hood on in a race and when he gets to whiz around Kempton, he should be a lot better anyway. I just thought he should have been a bit closer to Hansard than the market had it, to be honest.
Okay, there you go. A 5-2 shot Rubord with the hood on for the first time, and I think it's fair to forgive him that bomb out.
Well, I mean, if he hadn't run at Newbury, he'd be favourite, wouldn't he?
Yeah,
I think he'd be clear favourite. I think it's Rare Edition who beat him at Kempton, got beat in the Sydney Banks of Huntington, but scoped badly. So they had an excuse for that. But yeah, he just blew his top at Newbury last time. He just, they couldn't hold on to him, even though, they're running on fast ground, they're going pretty quickly.
In theory, it should have been.
Yeah, it should have been okay. But yeah, he was lathered it. He wasn't settling at all. So if it works, he's the one to beat and not Hansard in my eyes. I do, like you, have a bit of a regard for Imperial Bead. I think he might end up being pretty decent.
I like the way he beat a lot of flat horses. And
but he made a mistake early.
Yeah.
Which sort of put him on the back foot, and Arcoob's a fairly decent flat horse as well. Won a decent handicap last year, didn't he? And he just came through, pricked his ears, didn't he, going to the second last, and won going away quite easily. And then if you go back and look at his French bumper form, he's got a victory over Il Est Français, who is just about the best horse in France at the moment, trained by Tom George, of course, or the best young horse in France. Yeah, he's got some decent form. He was also third to Care Allen as well, so his bumper form was pretty warm. Mm-hmm. And he did look pretty good, so I'd be just inclined to take a chance on him stepping up.
Mm. Yeah, it's like, because I thought that Huntington race was good, the time was good, I was impressed with the performance. A few horses have come out and let the form down since then. So, but interesting, they are lumping him up to this level because, I mean, if they think he's a Grade 2 horse, then, they'd have been looking at that 120, given who owns him, and thought, hello, we could have a nice type on our hands. So I think he's got a big chance. But we've just got the 7 runners here, Simon. But I might be back in Imperial Bead each way with you because there's 3 places. Is that right?
There is, yeah, very good. I'd actually had spotted that, so I might have even mentioned that myself. But yes, it's each way the first 3 places, which does encourage at least an each way bet against. I mean, it's one of those, it's obviously it's a decent race, but I'm not convinced by either Hansard and Rubo. I mean, Rubo, as you say, he's got this issue of being too keen, putting the hood on him this time, and hoping that will help solve that problem. Hansard beat Master Chewy well enough. Master Chewy ran pretty well in the Betfair hurdle, so I thought the form's sort of solid. But the John O'Neill team are going really well, so I like Imperial Bead a lot. There's been money for Mullenberg of Milton Harris's, which obviously was beaten last time, on a winning. It was a winning streak of 3. Got beaten at Cheltenham, but clearly they expect her to maybe run back to decent form. And I'd half a little glance at Postmark, actually. I mean, he was an 89 rated flat horse and won quite nicely. I know it was only a maiden hurdle at Newbury. I just wasn't sure how good this race was. So I thought at a crazy big price, maybe he had that half a little squeak of running better than its odds suggest. But, all the monies for Mullenberg are in the no special is for either Hansard or Rubo to win by over 3.5 lengths. You get them both running for you, but you need one of them to win impressively. Quite an interesting one. And that is 9-4, if you fancy that in the no special. But for me, I'm with Imperial Bead, like you guys. Well, like you, Ross. You were quite keen on? Yeah.
Yeah, I think, especially with those 3 places, he'll be going in the each ways tomorrow. I know he's got a little bit to find, but he's vastly unexposed in comparison to his rivals. As for everyone at home, Neil Francis agrees. He's with Imperial Bead. Martin Lewis thinks Rubard will win hard held, and that's about it. that's about it. You can tango, says Tom Leach, although I don't know if that's just admiration of my dancing skills. Off to 4:10 at Kempton, with the Coral Racing Club handicap hurdle here, 2 miles and 5 furlongs, the distance far at this handicap hurdle. And Don Hollow is just one of many unexposed runners lining up here. Handicap debut far down Skelton's charge, and they sure know how to line up an unexposed handicap hurdle off a nice mark. He improved at Catterick last time out. He's 3-1. Ivaldi is 4-1. Scarpio 11-2. Will Carver is 7s. 8-1 Mark of Gold. 9-1 Halo at Desobo. 9-1 Vintage Fizz. 10's Locks Corner. And then Royal Muni, Ballyhome and Pontresina make up the field. So trying to work out which of these horses is going to improve at the top of the betting Keels, or there's quite a few horses who are coming here off very attractive marks based on their past exploits, but there's some potentially talented youngsters in here.
Yeah, there is. I mean, the one that caught my eye last week was Ivaldi. If you saw him at Ascot, he was given way too much to do. I think in a bid to get him settled. If you saw how low he carried his head, if he'd gone any lower, he'd have been picking grass on the way round, wouldn't he? It was ridiculous how low he went. But he was still sort of cruising, turning for home. But he was so far behind. He did finally run on to finish 4th. I think he's worth another go if they get a good pace to run at on this ground. He'd be the one I like at the top of the betting. I got half a feeling for Royal Muni though, just because he's a big price based on the last time out, finishing tailed off here, but that was on soft ground. He's not a soft ground horse. Hasn't been out the first. He's been in the first 2 on his last 4 starts over hurdles on good ground, and I would expect a much better run tomorrow.
Okay. There you go. A couple of opinions for Keels. Mr. Melrose. Don Hollow is 3-1. Interesting that Keels mentioned Ivaldi. We've had a fairly decent show up for 5-year-olds in this. A couple of seasons ago, there was only 1 in the race, Eric LaRouge, he won. A couple of seasons before that, there was 2 in the race. They finished 1st and 2nd. I think they've got about a 14% strike rate from about 20% representation. And interesting, Ivaldi is the only runner here. But like I said, he's not the only unexposed horse in the race.
No, it's about as competitive a race as you'll find for £7 to the winner, isn't it? It's a really competitive race. But it is still probably a little bit lower than the sort of races that Mark Gold's been running in, and he's the one that sort of took my eye for it a little bit. He's been running in races like the Great Woods. He was 20-1 for the Lanzarote last time, fell early doors, and given the way that race ended up being, it might have been just about the best thing for it to exit early in that one rather than go through it. He's actually bred to be a really good staying flat horse, so he's moving up in trip not before time, I don't think, over hurdles. His dam stayed 2 miles and a good 1.6 horse who's by Golden Horn and stayed quite well himself on the flat, but he didn't get many chances. I don't think it's before time that he's moving up in trip, and as we see, he's not really had a chance to develop over this sort of distance yet. Every time he's not running one of those top class handicaps, he's looked a cut above. He won really readily at Lingfield in December, and this is a competitive race for the money, but it's not a Lanzarote, it's not a Greatwood, and he's himself got a good claimer up in Caelan Quinn, and just thought he was quite an interesting horse, and up against a lot of these unknown quantities, and I'd take it on the chin if any of them beat him, but this is an unexposed horse too, and I just thought he was getting a little bit short shrift that he shouldn't be.
Yeah, he's one of those horses, isn't he, that he often runs at these big races, Keith, and then finds water's a little bit too hot, but when you do drop him down to his level, he goes, oh great, an open goal, I'll take it. He's got a very strong record in those just below top class handicap hurdles, so yeah, he could be a little bit interesting. Just a quick word on Will Carver, who obviously we haven't seen for 629 days, but connections certainly know what they're doing. What do we make of him?
Is that for me?
Sure, why not? I mean, it was initially, but Keels hasn't spoken up, so we can't have too strong an opinion on Will Carver.
No, I mean, you sort of see that length of absence and you think, what's he going to do from here? And the form he did have before was mostly summer form, wasn't it? He was winning it. You won here, but you also won at Perth, and you think it's a big ask to come back and win this race straight off that sort of absence. Very much a sort of horse, if you're writing the spotlights for this race, you would write Market Can Guide, which is what I'll be allowing to happen.
Yes, the cop-out, as it were, for a race of this nature. But Don Hollow 3-1, Simon, as Keith said, for £7 grand, plenty of horses in with a chance.
Yeah, I mean, Dan Skelton, thinks that Don Hollow is ready for the step up in grade. He's a progressive horse, and this will tell him where they'll go next. I mean, there's sort of semi confidence there, but not sort of. He can be very bullish, Dan. I wouldn't say he's super confident. Evaldi, like Paul said, I watched him last week. I backed him last week, and I can't remember when he finished fourth. Didn't they? They were playing 4 places, fortunately, but never nearer, certainly. And Harry Cobden, he was tugging Harry Cobden's arms out all the way round, and that's been his problem. He was way too keen. Paul Nichols in his blog actually said he was also way too keen. Well, I think he fell about the second in the Lanzarote, but they need him to settle better. But it's probably a better track than Ascot if he's going to run a little bit free. But the money, so the money's come for Evaldi, and there's bits of money for Mark of Gold. They're probably the 2 for the cash. We're paying 4 places, just 11 runners. So if you fancy an each way bet, that certainly shouldn't discourage. And Ryan May, the horse that Paul likes, is a 14-1 chance. So not a bad each way bet.
Thank you very much. Just to reiterate the selection.
Yeah, I did like the way Evaldi ran last time, but I'm going to take a chance on Royal Uni at a much bigger price.
Okay, and Monsieur Melrose.
Yeah, it was Mark of Gold for me.
Okay, and Simon.
I'm going to give Evaldi another chance after last week, so Evaldi for me.
Yeah, I think I might as well, but I do have in the back of my mind that he might just be one of those horses who, this time next year, will have made just as many excuses of why he keeps getting beat. But he's going to go one of 2 ways. Either he's just, a little bit raw and he'll find his feet, or there's a few quirks there, but willing to give him a chance. The last race at Kempton, in fact, that's not true. The penultimate race at Kempton we're going to look at, because we'll rattle through the bumper as well.
Everyone goes home before the bumper.
Say that again.
Everyone goes home before the bumper. This is
We're
Britain,
not going
Ireland.
anywhere.
This is Britain, not Ireland.
No, you're not. You're there, aren't you? So
Yes, I know.
you'll be nicking any
Absolutely.
any stray pints and cakes going around. So you get
Cakes, definitely.
the 4.5 Kempton tomorrow is just over 2.5 miles the distance for this handicap chase. Quick Draw is 11-10 favourite. Go Steady. Good advice there, Keels. 11-2. The Edgar Wall is 7-1. Cap or Toy is 17-2. Guy is 10-1. Foxborough 11s 12-1 bar those. Quick Draw withdrawn at Newbury, of course, because of fast ground. Gets fast ground at Kempton, of course. Probably not as fast as it was at Newbury, but that's the big question if you're backing a horse at 11-10, isn't it?
Yeah, I massively fancy him to get chinned, and I massively fancy him to get chinned by the one he beat last time, Cap or Toy.
Okay.
I mean, for a start, Cap or Toy is £1 lower, Quick Draw's £8 higher. He got beat 7.5 lengths, and Quick Draw was eased down, but to my eyes, he looked tired anyway. I don't think he could have pulled out a lot more, even if he hadn't been eased down. And Cap or Toy was running his best race of the season by far, having shown nothing, and having lost his form. He's dropped a fair way in the weights. In fact, he won 3 times last season, and he's now below the mark for the first win, let alone the third.
Okay.
And obviously his best run came on good ground at Stratford last March when he won very easily from Galahad Quest, who was absolutely hacked up this afternoon.
This is a big drop in grade for him as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a drop in grade. He's obviously got the fav to beat. But again, like you said, non-runner because of the ground. He was a non-runner because of good ground in May. He then ran on good ground at Uttoxeter in May after that and got well beat. Mm-hmm. He has won on good ground a couple of years ago, but there's definite question mark. He's also got a mistake in him, and if the quicker they go, the more likely he's going to make one. So yeah, I think there was serious case for saying that Cap or Toy's got a massive chance of turning the form around.
Okay, interesting. When he did win on good ground, he wasn't trained by Nicky Henderson as well. So clearly, since then, they've decided they don't want to run him under these conditions. So.
Yeah, absolutely. He probably will run if they're happy enough with the ground. But
you're hoping he does if you think he's.
I hope he does. I'm quite happy to take him on, and I just thought Cap or Toy I just thought he'd be clear second favourite, to be honest.
Okay, Cap or Toy then could be the each-way play here. 17-2, top weight down in grade. Keith, are you as keen to oppose Quick Draw as my honourable friend here? That's really great.
Right, Keith's disappeared.
Thanks. No, it's a great case you've made there, Keith. Yeah, I actually hadn't considered that. No, that's an excellent point. I'd say that's up with your best analysis. But Keith Melrose, gone too soon. Simon?
Yeah, it's very interesting. I mean, Quick Draw, gone up £8, been really well backed, 11-8 into 11-10 in the last hour or so, like real confidence. I mean, it's funny, we haven't mentioned, I think Jensen's got a couple of other runs we haven't really mentioned. He always seems to run, his horses all seem to run well at Kempton, and he often leads with one or two winners, doesn't he? So this will be popular, but like Paul said, I think it's worth taking on. Dan Skelton, again, in his blog, said go steady, isn't exactly screaming out that he's well handicapped, yet he's been the other one for money, 11-2 from 7-1. Capo Toy on the drift, so it looks like you're going to get a fair price. He was, sort of a 7-1 chance earlier, 7.5-1 chance earlier. He's now up to 8.5-1. So the one I thought was interesting at a price was Foxborough, who was second to Phlegmatic last in that race last year at Kempton. The bit of form that is pointing the guys towards maybe Phlegmatic's chance in the big race. Well, Foxborough has got, went on and ran some decent races after that. He won the next time out at Sandown. All his best form is 2.5 miles. But for his last two starts, he ran in the Mandarin on really soft ground at Newbury. He ran at Wincanton over 3 mile, one didn't get home. And yet now back over a course and distance, he's run well over the 4. I just thought him at 11-1 was an interesting, interesting each way price in a race where quite a few horses, don't look out of form and don't look to have, a great chance. So he's the value play to me. But the money all pointing firmly in favour of Quick Draw at the moment.
Yeah, second to Phlegmatic, of course, in this race last year, Foxborough, who, of course, steps up markedly in grade. If I had I can't nap this, obviously, but Guy to finish in the frame, these are his conditions. I know he's a so-and-so, but he's good ground record. His first, fourth, second, and the fourth was in this race a couple of years ago as a 6-year-old off exactly the same mark. So if he doesn't plug on for a place and put him all each ways, then I don't know who will. Keith, unfortunately, has missed this opportunity to preview this race, but I'm sure he had something fascinating to say. Last race at Kempton we're going to look at is the bumper, which I'm going to go to Keith for first, where we've got 11 running. Let's rattle through this and have a good look at the Eider. But ILS de Mao is 9-4, Dancing in Brazil 130, Keith. Brook Bay 7-2, Email Andy is 7-1, Classic Anthem 9s and 11-1, and bigger the rest. You're looking look. I've lost him again. He's frozen again there, Keith. Is everything all right, mate? I think we're having internet problems in the Melrose. There we go. Keith, can you hear me? Keith? No, he's done. He's done. Wow, Keith.
Oh, I love it.
Hashtag bring back Tom Siegel. Yeah, that's what happens. See, I live in Yorkshire and I come down here. You should come to the studio.
Exactly. So you can't come in the studio. That's what it's all about.
It is. What did you make of the bumper keels?
Most people know that I don't really have much fondness for bumpers. Dancing Brazil's got the best form and will probably appreciate better ground than last time when getting beaten, but still the best form out there so far. Obviously, the Henderson thing's going to be fav. Quite interesting horse at a bigger price if you want to take a chance, because it's all guesswork at bumpers when they haven't run. Highway 105, and we've had the 102, 103s, etc. This is pretty well-bred horse. He's a half product of 4 winners, a couple who are very useful. Pretty useful in Ireland. So take a chance on him at a price for Chris Gordon, who has had his share of winners at this meeting.
He has, yeah. Like I said, he's one of my favourite trainers to follow at this time of year in these kind of races. He had 2 winners last year. I think his winner at Storm Gordon, I'm pretty sure, ran in this race and ran a big race a couple of seasons ago. But anyway, this race has thrown up some good winners in the year that passed. Boot Hill, Enrillo, Danny Kerwin, most of them I think are coming back tomorrow since winning this bumper. Got some interestingly bred horses as well here at Simon. Including Brook Bay, who's from the family of Desert Orchid. Admittedly, his half-brother is not from 21, so it's not necessarily passed down. And Email Andy, who's got loads of decent flat form as well. So, if I was there, I wouldn't have a strong bet, but it's an interesting race. And
yeah, I think that's the point. It's not necessarily a race to sort of get going heavy from a punting point of view, but you've already mentioned Boot Hill and Enrillo both running on the card tomorrow, both won this race in previous years. But there's some really nice horses. Islas Dumau, Nicky Henderson is very keen on in his blog, says he's a very, very nice horse. Won a Newbury bumper impressively. Apparently he's called Pablo in the stables. You can shout out his name from the side if you're there tomorrow. Brook Bay, when the Coral Racing Club bought Heyday Baby at the Sandown Goff sale, that boutique sale on Tingle Creek Day, and I think we paid £48,000 standing with John Joe O'Neill. That was really exciting. landing her for the Coral Race Club members, free to join, 60,000 members and counting. Come join the fastest growing free racing club. But Brook Bay was bought by John Joe Neal's sponsor, Martin Tedham, for £380,000, just 5 lots earlier or 6 lots earlier. So that was even more exciting, standing next to a man landing. So it'll be interesting to see how good Brook Bay is when you've laid out that kind of money. Paul Nicholls didn't seem particularly bullish about Email Andy winning a bumper on the first start. This is definitely a run for experience, as was Dan Skelton's views on Faulkner. So it might pay if you are looking for something for a bit of sport to look at. I think Highway 105, Chris Gordon's horse, all those highways have run well. And Classic Anthem, running for the Lost in Translation owners for Jim Boyle. They paid £200,000 for this horse. I'm sure Jim will want him to run well first time up for those owners. So he might be interesting to keep an eye on.
Okay, a few thoughts in the bumper then at Kempton, but we're going to close it off. One of the quickest previews, one of the longest races potentially, the Eider at Newcastle tomorrow. Good to soft ground, 15 of them running. So luckily it won't be like Eider's of past, which have been, quite frankly, exhausting. But Kitty's Light is 5-2 favourite. Sam's Adventure 13-2. The Galloping Bear 8s. Babington Bob 8s. Eva's Oscar 9s. Bushy Park 11s with Houston, Texas, and 14s bar those. And one of the best handicapped horses of the entire weekend in the shape of Kitty's Light, who is running off a mark of 132, which is £13 lower than when he was placed at Sandown last April. He's only 7 years old, so clearly everyone, left, right and centre, Keels, thinks that this horse has been lined up for a tilt at a race they won last year.
Well, yeah, absolutely. It's one of those so well handicapped that, if he hasn't lost it completely, then you could see him by winning, by half a furlong or so, because he's that well handicapped. He's not just £13 lower than when placed at Sandown. That was in the Bet365 Gold Cup, and he was also, he's £11 lower than when second in the Scottish National. So they're, really good races. The thing about backing horses for trainers that have been renowned for priming horses for handicaps is every now and again they do have horses that completely lose the plot, and they end up being backed at short prices when in fact they have just lost the plot. And he's run 5 times this season and been beaten over 130 lengths in total. I see it. That wouldn't surprise me if he absolutely bolts up, but I couldn't look myself in the mirror if I didn't try to take him on, so that's what I've done. I backed a couple of outsiders earlier in the week, one of them being Amateur, who may well be being primed for a third crack at the West Wales National that he's won for the last 2 years at Fosslas. But he does go well on second run after a break, and he actually performed quite well last time at Hereford. He was only beaten 12 lengths, travelled well for the race. His best form has obviously been left-handed flat tracks, those 2 wins at Fosslas, a Mandarin at Newbury. So I think he's got a chance. He's a much shorter price now. And the other one was Rathan Ure. I actually backed him for this race last year. He came into the race having finished last on his first run for nearly 400 days, but went off at only 9-1 and finished 6th. Now he comes into the race off a last time out win off a £13 lower mark. And Ruth Jefferson,
118. That is a low mark indeed, isn't it?
Exactly. Ruth Jefferson's put some cheek pieces on him now. She's only run 15 horses in cheek pieces since 2016. I think it is 3 have won, 3 have finished second. Not a bad strike rate for a trainer with only an 11% strike rate overall.
So they've dusted off the cheek pieces for this one.
They've got the cheek pieces out, and yeah, I just think he'll run well at a price and hit the frame. There's extra places on offer, isn't there?
Yeah,
I would assume so. Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4.
1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, hit the frame at 16-1. Yeah, I think that's it. But it wouldn't surprise me if Kitty's Light doesn't come off the bridle.
Yeah, but it's still been a while since he's actually won a race, though. I thought Eva's Oscar was a little bit interested in this race as well. Again, Sandown. I think this horse's track, Cheltenham and Chepstow form, I think will be better suited by Newcastle than Sandown. Just a last check on Keith Melrose, if he's okay. Are you back, Keith?
Of course I'm back for the Eider.
I think you've been gone for as long as it'll take to run the race. So you better leave us with a winner now, Keith. Now you've skipped the bumper and the handicap hurdle.
No, it was this handicap chase.
That is true.
I heard you talking up Guy. I'm glad there's somebody else that's going to suffer that one as well as I am. But yeah, no, this is the Eider. I'm a bit disappointed because Young Bull was my tip for this race, but he's been pulled out in the last hour or so. Yeah. A bit like Keels, and the Kitty's Light, I'm going to have that horse on side. He's almost certainly just been laid out for this, and he's so well handicapped. And he definitely stays this far. It's probably a slightly lesser race than the sort he's been placed in before. And it's very clever because he's 7 now. You'd have thought this was a season he ended with the National, but they know he's not good enough to win a National. So they've gone and tried to win this instead. He needs to be on your side, but the two that I'll probably have on side at bigger prices, I thought Shanty Ali shaped probably better than Grumpy Charlie when he won the Mandarin on New Year's Eve. I was going to call it Hornbury there, but nobody would have understood what I meant. And then on the Sky bet...
We don't anyway, Keith, to be fair.
I just wore the first in the Sky bet, and it was never in it after that. So, he's a horse that take that one out, and I think there's good reason to do so, and he shouldn't be up 16-20 to 1. So he'll have a bit more on him, and also Houston, Texas, who looked very good at Carlisle on his reappearance and has been prepared for this race very similarly to how Baywing was prepared by Nicky Richards. He often liked to run them in that Newcastle meeting tail end of January, early February, and looks like a horse that will relish it the further he goes. So cut a little bets on those two, but you need to make sure Kitty's light's on side.
Okay, and Simon, wrap us up with the Eider, and then we'll get the naps.
Yeah, look, Kitty's Light is looking very solid in the market, looking across the different bookies. But there are some outsiders doing really well back. This is a really vibrant betting heat. In fact, In Rem has been smashed into 11 to 1 from 16.
Well, we know who's done that, don't we? We know who's done that. The man who couldn't be bothered to turn up tonight.
That's a Tom Kealy. Houston, Texas is 11 to 1 from 16. Ashanti Alley is 16 to 1 from 25. Rathon Moor is 20 to 1 from 25. So plenty of money for sort of horses at bigger prices. The one I quite like is No Cruise Yet, carrying no weight at all. Since he joined Sam England, it hasn't been out the first 3. He won last time in a 0 to 135. Well, the top weight in this race is only 142. So I just thought of no weight. He's been progressing nicely. I think he'll run well. He stays really well as well. No Cruise Yet. He's a 12 to 1 chance. And the Gallopy Bear, I backed Quick Wave. I shouldn't, but I backed Quick Wave in the Cornwall National. It disappointed. Then came out and won. Won the Haydock Grand National trial. The Gallopy Bear went off 11 to 2 for the Welsh National. Felwyn in 4th place. I mean, that was a top race. I would say that the Cornwall Grand National. The fact that he's now an 8 to 1 chance, and I think a weaker staying chase than the Cornwall National. Very unexposed. I think he'll go well 8 to 1. But they'd probably be the ones for me. And the In the Know special is 4 to 1. A female trainer to win the Eider Chase. And there's a number running for you there in the big race. Who we got? Anne Hamilton, Babington, Bob. We've got running Jane Williams in Rem, and Rose Dobbin, Rathon Moor, and Lucinda Russell, Mighty Thunder, all running for you if you fancy a female trainer to win the Eider tomorrow.
And also Sam England as well, right? No Cruise Yet. Is that right?
And Sam England, No Cruise Yet.
Okay, so you've got plenty of opportunities.
The one I fancy.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, that's the Eider then, and it wraps us up for our preview for Saturday afternoon. But let's get the naps before we go. So on a big day at Kempton, Newcastle and elsewhere, what is the best bet? First things first from Paul Kealy.
Yeah, Phlegmatic and the big one, the Coral Gold Trophy Cup.
The Coral
Gold Trophy.
Coral Trophy.
The Coral Gold Trophy.
The Coral Trophy. The Coral Gold Trophy.
Yeah.
The
Trophy.
The cup fee. Okay.
That one.
Yeah.
And keep an eye out for Bear Gills back over hurdles at Chepstow in a per temps qualifier.
Okay, there you go. A little bit of a bonus for you. Keith Melrose, nap, please.
I'll go for Solo in the Pendil, 225 Kempton.
Okay.
Lovely, Solo it is. I'll go for Imperial Bead in the Dovecote. Or can risk shaking your head there, Keels. I don't know if he completely disagrees with me, or he just read something else. Someone's abusing him on Twitter. And Simon.
I agree with you.
Yeah, you agree with me. Oh, there we go. Rarely happens, but we'll take it. Simon, what's your nap?
Scriptwriter. I think it will win the Adonis.
Okay, there we go. And what better script could be written than all 4 of those winning and filling the pockets ahead of Cheltenham? Thanks to everyone for watching at home. You're much better behaved tonight. Lots of nice comments. And Pepsi Boy 3000, say hello to your wife. Unless you read the comment, makes no sense. But he said his wife walked in and said, she knows me as the attractive one, and then David Kirk replied, well, he is next to Keels. So that was horrible, wasn't it?
Nice of you, wasn't it? That
was horrible.
I've had my haircut as well.
Exactly, so he's made an effort and everything. Absolutely disgraced, David Kirk. Oh, what are you like? But anyway, Keith, thanks for joining us. See you soon.
Cheers, guys.
We'll be back on Monday to look ahead at some Cheltenham races. Good night.